everyone, and welcome to my Q&A today to help you if you're going through any kind of breakup during lockdown and isolation. I know from all your messages, your DMs, your emails, that a lot of you are finding this really difficult and struggling. And I know because I've just been on a call, excuse me, I've just been on a call with a client who's going through such a tough time. Actually, he's walked out during lockdown and left her all alone whilst this is going on, and she's really struggling to cope with that. So I am running a little bit behind today. So sorry that I kept you waiting for a bit there, but I just wanted to make sure that she got everything that she needed from me before I jumped onto the session. So what would I say? So today, what I want to focus on is the questions that you sent me, and I've got quite a few to get through today. But the first one I wanted to talk about is how to cope when your partner has walked out during lockdown. Now, this is happening to lots of people. In fact, I was in my local Waitrose last week, I mean, once a week, and I did my big shop, and I bumped into a friend of mine from the gym, and he said that his wife had kicked him out during lockdown, and he had another place he could go and stay, so he's staying there. But the poor guy was absolutely devastated, and not only was he learning to deal with just being on his own, but he was really upset that he had to leave his home during lockdown, but also the heartbreak and everything that comes with a breakup. Now, he had a big part to play in the breakup. I don't think he was always well behaved, but unfortunately it came to a head because all the pressure and everything that has been going on during the during lockdown has just accentuated all the feelings. He felt that they were working through some things, they were going to get through the trouble that they'd had, but unfortunately this has pushed it to another limit. So hi everyone for joining. I just want to say, if you've got any questions today, then just please put them on here, because that's what I'm here to do today. I'm here to answer your questions as well as the questions that some of you I know have sent through. Oh, thanks, Mark. It's such valuable content. Thank you. So yes, so talking to my client earlier whose husband has left during lockdown, I know that this is a super tough time, because not only are we vulnerable from the normal roller coaster of emotions we go through during a breakup, but then you add on to that all the frustrations, the worry, the fear, the anxiety that we have for COVID-19, especially if you're glued to the news, which again is one of the things we've talked about, isn't it, over the last couple of weeks, about how staying glued to the news probably isn't the best way forward, because it really will affect how you feel. So what I'd like to recommend is that you dip in and out to get the necessary information. And this is what I was saying to my client earlier. Just dip in and out of the news to get what you need. You know, you need to be ahead of what's going on and understanding all the new regulations as they're changing at the moment, so that you can conform to those and you can abide by the regulations, but not so much that it brings your mood down. And I think you'll find that if you watch television for more than 10-15 minutes, it's just repeating the same messages at the moment, especially on the news channels. So what I would suggest is just dive in and out for a short period of time, get the information, and then move on with your day. Okay. And again, this lady I was talking to, she literally lost all routine and all structure during her day. Again, very understandable, because she's highly emotional. He only left last week and she's been sent into this turmoil, but her routine that she had established at the beginning of lockdown is completely gone. And I don't know if you saw in the news yesterday, I think it was, that Ruth Langsford, so she's a TV presenter married to Eamon Holmes, and she was pictured over the weekend. She was walking her dog and she took her own photo and she put it up, and she said, oh, I'm going for a walk, I haven't washed my hair, my clothes aren't ironed, you know, and I just haven't made an effort. I haven't even made the bed this morning. So, you know, she was putting out the real what's happening in lockdown right now. And a lot of people were saying, oh my goodness, that's me too. You know, and I was having a conversation, I don't know about you guys, about ironing. So when I started off, everything was getting ironed, as well as working, as well as homeschooling and everything else that I'm doing. But actually, as things have gone on, I'm like, oh, that'll do. I don't need to iron that. And so, you know, what are you letting slip? It's important to look at things. You know, is it important stuff that's going to affect your mental health here? Because I do think that having no routine at all is something that crosses a boundary. Because, you know, having a structure to our day, just one thing that you do a day will keep you actually focused and targeted. And I would highly recommend that is getting out of the house, getting outside to get some fresh air, go for a walk, listen to the birds singing, because you can hear it these days. but doing something that gets your physiology changing, as we were talking about yesterday, will have a big impact. Now, for this lady whose husband left her, he's left her and she's in massive shock because she says she didn't see it coming until the lockdown started, when she started to realise things about him that she hadn't noticed. Now, this is another thing that I've got from a lot of you, is that you're realising things about your current partners that you hadn't picked up on before. So, for example, I have someone who's saying that my partner drinks a lot more than I ever realised. He's really drinking. But another, somebody wrote in saying that her husband kept nipping out to the garage and she thought he was acting just a little bit strangely, almost skulking off to the garage. So she decided to follow him without him knowing one time. And she went in, and they've got like a carport area, and at the back is like a little room where they keep the bikes. And in there, he had a bottle of wine, and he was swinging from the bottle of wine. And he kept that there. He wanted to hide from her just how much he would normally drink during a day. And so now they're in lockdown. He can't do that so much, understandably. So that was obviously an issue. And I'm sorry for those of you who are on YouTube, I seem to have an issue with the quality of the video, but I'm not sure why. But anyway, I'm sorry about that. But I am on Instagram Live, streaming live. If you wanted to join us on there, hop over to Sarah Davison Divorce Coach, and you can watch me on Instagram Live there. So are you finding these things as well? Are you noticing things about people that you're living with that you didn't really know before, or that maybe they managed to hide from you? I know that is a problem with drinking. There's also, I've got emails here from men that are saying that their wives are just going at them all the time. And usually they say, oh, make sure you've done this, make sure you've done that. And then they go off to work, and maybe their wives go off to work, and then they come back at the end of the day. But actually now they're in the house all the time. There's a couple of emails here from men saying that they're just finding it all too much. It's just too much. And they didn't realize that they were like this so much. And it's really driving them apart. The underlying issue is that they're finding them less and less attractive, and they're wanting to be with them less and less. Now, what is that resulting in? Well, during lockdown, it's meaning that people don't want to go on those walks together anymore. People don't want to go out and do the shopping runs and coordinate them together. They're just doing their individual things because that's your time apart. But obviously, if one partner wants to do things together and the other doesn't, that's when the conflict is starting to show. And even if where it's not conflict, and I get this a lot, where one person is pulling away. Now, I don't know if anyone on here right now has ever been in a situation where your partner pulls away from you whilst you're still in love with them and still connected and wanting it to work. That feeling of someone pulling away from you is really, really painful. It is soul destroying, and it brings out a side of you that probably isn't your best side. It might appear to be the best me all the time and best foot forward, and look, I've got makeup or dressing up, or making an effort, making cups of tea, mowing the lawn, doing all the jobs without being asked. So it might look like it's your best stuff, but actually it's not, because it's pulling on that fear of rejection, which brings out that slightly desperate side to us, which is wanting to cling to somebody. Unfortunately, the usual outcome from somebody being clingy and desperately trying to get the relationship back on track is that person pulls away even more because it's too much. So you've really got to think carefully. If your partner is pulling away from you, or you're finding things really irritating about them right now, what you do is critical. So please think about it very carefully, and not throwing yourself into something, but maybe having a conversation, or maybe starting it with some sort of, reality check for you. Why is this happening? And what is the best way, based on what I know about them and myself and my personality, to find a way back? Have you ever been through a situation like this before, and how did you pull it back then? And maybe being less intense might make them want to come forward a little bit more. So you've really got to think individually. If you want me to go through this on a one-to-one basis, obviously I offer coaching, video coaching at the moment only, but that is something that we could discuss. But I know I've got so many inquiries about how do I stop my ex from leaving me after lockdown. It's a big issue that I know a lot of people are facing right now, and it is scary when you are thinking, gosh, this could be the last. In fact, actually, I've got an email here. A lady says, these are going to be the last few weeks I'm living with my partner because he's leaving me. So she's counting down. So the lockdown, she doesn't want lockdown to be over, even, because she knows that when lockdown is over, he's going. And that to her is so painful. So she's living in this awful limbo where obviously most people are wanting lockdown to come to an end, to get back to normality, whereas she's on the other side of the fence. They're thinking, gosh, when this comes, he's leaving me and I'm going to be all alone. Now, number one, you won't be all alone, because I know that you've got friends and family that will support you and help you through this. You also have us, you have me, and I will be, I still will be doing and offering free advice during after lockdown, because I know it helps a lot of people that can't necessarily afford to come to me for coaching. So I am offering that as a service still, maybe not every day at 2 p.m, but I will be offering it. So don't feel that you're ever alone, because you're not. And also, there are so many people going through breakups. They've either thinking about it, they're in the midst of it, they've been through it, and they're still recovering. There are so many people in this world going through it. It might be your first love. It might be a marriage that's lasted a long time. It might be a short marriage. I've got a client at the moment who's got married last year, and her husband ran off by the end of the year with one of her friends who was actually at the wedding. So, it could be all sorts of different scenarios. It doesn't make it any less painful. But what happens at the moment is, because of the isolation we're in, it kind of takes over your mind, because anxiety comes from all different places. And we have like your normal anxiety. Forget your breakup. Put that in a box for now. Let's just think about all the anxiety you have going on in your world right now, other than your breakup. What is it for you at the moment that's stressing you out? Do drop in the comments and ask questions as well, guys, because I'm here to answer those for you too today. So, what anxieties do you have? Is it finance? Is it maybe a relationship issue with a child or a parent? Are you worried about someone? Is there something going on in your life, some dynamic that is upsetting you? Because no matter whether you're having a great deal or not, there'll always be something in the background which is upsetting or difficult for you to manage, or makes you have that sort of lump in your throat or that knot in your stomach where you go, oh God, that makes me anxious. That's normal. That's life. Unfortunately, there's always going to be things like that. And that's what makes you stronger and builds you as a person, as we navigate those ups and downs and those challenges. So there are always going to be those things in your life. Then you put in COVID-19 with all the restrictions and the regulations and the fear factor of the unknown. What's going to happen? 6-7 weeks of lockdown. Now we're looking at, okay, well, when they release the enforcement, then could that cause another wave? Obviously, people are worrying about that, understandably. So, I don't think that, that COVID, I don't think that COVID isn't having a huge impact. And then on top of your normal anxiety, your COVID anxieties, then add in any breakup situation, that is huge. And please give yourself credit for just being here, being strong, getting out of bed, and just, being strong enough to reach out and get some support and help, because ultimately this is a really challenging time for anyone. And when you layer all those levels of anxiety, it really can affect your mental health. And everybody has mental health issues. It's not, so maybe 5-10 years ago, we used to think that anyone with mental health issues was sort of in a white jacket and sort of locked up somewhere, but that's not the case. You have a bad day, feeling low. That is part of your mental health. It's not a mental health issue, but it's it affects your mental health. So we all have highs and lows and worries and fears and anxieties. So it's normal, but so it's how we deal with it. Remember, it's not what happens to you in life that defines you. It's what you do about it that makes you the person you are. And that's why I'm always saying you have a choice here. You have a choice to make a decision to either go down with your breakup and stay low and stay wallowing in that self-pity and sadness, which is normal, or to say, you know what, I'm done with that. I need to find a way out. I need to pull myself up, even by the scruff of my neck, change my focus, as we talked about yesterday, using the exercise we did yesterday, which is on my Instagram actually from yesterday, where I changed those negative emotions into something that is warm and fluffy and nice, and then putting that emotion back in. All these things are absolutely key. So let's have a look here. Doing pleasant activities with friends and caring people, then suddenly something reminds you of your ex and you feel really sad and almost guilty for doing the activity you used to do with them. This sadness is a barrier to progressing and having fun. Any thoughts? Well, you are progressing, which is a really good thing. And quite often we'll look at the negative things and what we're not doing, and how when we try to feel good, we get knocked back. But I have to tell you, it's totally normal, okay? It's totally normal, because it doesn't just, there's no magic wand to sort of jump to, I'm fine, everything's great. There might even be, if you think back to your first ever love in life, maybe for me, I was 15, 16, And that to me was one of the most impactful times I ever fallen in love in my life. And when I think about it, it still makes me feel something. It's not like I have no emotion whatsoever, and I'm not hurt anymore, but I still think, oh gosh, yeah, those were amazing times. And that was a real love, it was true, real love. Now, those feelings don't ever evaporate. So you're always going to look back on your ex with some kind of emotion, unless you're, devoid of empathy, which you're not, by the way, because you wouldn't be here. So one of the things that I would say is it's normal, and just to be okay to allow yourself to have the fun and understand that there will be things that pull you back, because unfortunately there is no magic wand to take away all the pain. But the fact that you're able to have fun, the fact that you're engaging and doing those activities, Amy, is the big thing, and you need to focus on that, because that is what makes the difference. It's getting up, making those efforts, going to do those things. Yes, there'll be 1 step forward, 2 steps back, maybe 5 steps forward, 1 step back. It's normal. That roller coaster that we go through of recovery will be, I'm doing all right. Oh, mama, I'm having a bad day. Or I'm thinking about my ex. Oh, that hurts. Oh, I feel bad. That is normal. But what kicks in when you keep picking yourself up and you keep carrying on and doing the things that you're doing, Amy, by going and doing pleasant activities with friends and caring people, what you're doing there is you're reprogramming your mind to get up and carry on, and you're stepping up and taking massive action. And by doing that, that's how you tip the balance. So, it will happen at the beginning more, but the more you do it, the more you have other things to think about, the more you let go and move on with these other people, that's when it starts to shift. So you're doing all the right things, and the fact that you're still being pulled back is just totally normal and part of the process. You do need to go through that grieving process to let it go so that you can move on. A lot of people think, well, I'll just stuff those emotions down, and if I don't feel anything, then that means I'm sorted. Well, actually, that's not how it works. In fact, the fact that you still feel something that strongly to make you feel sad means that you are grieving, and you have to go through that grieving process to come out the other side. So you can't just stuff it down. If you stuff it down, don't feel anything, think, oh, I feel fine. Those emotions are still there, and they're buried, and they will come up and bite you in the future. Either you'll get into another relationship that doesn't work out because you haven't dealt with it, or when another relationship comes to an end, or something happens, maybe, I don't know, something difficult happens, like you lose your job, all those emotions will come out to help you at that point for you to deal with. So actually grieving it in little bits as you go along is your body's way of releasing it as you go, which is the healthiest way. And I've talked about before, your body will only allow you to feel the pain as much as you can take, because then you'll go forward. And I hear this so much, and I've got that in emails here where someone said to me, Sarah, I'm moving forward, but then suddenly I feel like at the worst day I've ever had, and I feel like I'm not making any progress. Well, the good news is you are making progress, and it's when you feel stronger, your body allows you to grieve a little bit more. Because if you did all the grieving on day one, your body wouldn't be able to take it. So your body protects you, so you get a bit stronger, you think, oh, I'm doing really well, I don't feel that bad. And then suddenly you'll think, oh, I'm having a bad moment. But that's because you're feeling a bit stronger, so your body allows you to release a little bit more so that you can come back on again. And what kicks in is what I call the boomerang effect. Now, the boomerang effect, as I define it, means that you bounce back quicker. So yeah, you'll get knocked down. Yeah, you might feel a little bit sad. Yeah, you might have a bad day, or a really bad day, or a bad evening, or a bad couple of hours. But what happens is you bounce back quicker because you've got the tools and you've practiced. So yes, so you will feel like you bounce back quicker. I promise you that. And over time, the boomerang effect gets stronger and stronger. And this is something that I want you to really consciously think about when it happens. Because if you can kind of keep a journal of, right, okay, well, I felt I was doing great, like Amy with your friends, and then I had a bad moment, and it lasted, I don't know, a day, a couple of days. And then you'll see over time, as you start to take your power back, as you start to feel more empowered, as you start to do more and refocus your mind on other things that make you feel good, and surround yourself with people that do genuinely care about you and want the best for you, that starts to tip. So that boomerang effect, you can bounce back quicker and quicker and quicker. And that's what it's about. And just know this is normal. I'm going to feel bad for a bit, but it won't be as long as it was before. So you're taking your control back, and you're acknowledging that this is healthy. This is part of my grieving process. So yes, so Amy's written, keep trying and having fun activities rather than waiting. Absolutely, you've got to keep going. And when you feel sad. It's okay to take some time out. It's okay to spend some time sort of grieving that end of that relationship, but don't get stuck there. You get stronger. But these are really good life skills that you can use in any area of your life, because if you can handle upset, anxiety to the point where whatever comes up, you can handle, you can get through, because you understand there's going to be a period of time where you're going to feel bad. And instead of fighting the feeling bad, accept that it's normal to feel bad about it right now. However, think about the ways that you can pull yourself out. Now, that might be going for some exercise, as we talked about yesterday. It might be changing the dialogue that's going on in your head, as we talked about last week. It might be changing the emotions around and inside you, pulling them out and changing them into something nicer, warmer, softer, fluffier, like we talked about as well yesterday. It could be any of those techniques. It could just be 5-star jumps. I don't know what it is for you. Or it could be talking to your parent or another friend that it helps to vent to or just talk to. It could be yoga, it could be mindfulness, it could be meditation. Whatever it is for you, build up your toolkit of things that can pull you out. Even having your gratitude list or your breakup bucket list of things you can do now that you're not in that relationship that you could never have done before. So building up your toolkit, which we're talking about in all these Q&A sessions, is going to help you, because when you get knocked down, it enables you to go to that talk and go, what can I use right now to pull me out, to dial down this intensity? But acknowledging that it's okay to be where you are right now, and you're doing a great job, and it does get easier, but you do need to step up and keep doing things, Amy. You do need to keep committing, because that's the action. If you just sit back, it's going to happen to you. You'll be battered by it. You need to take control of what's going on in here. But taking control can mean just recognizing you need a little bit of time out for you right now because you're grieving, and just give yourself an hour and then you'll be back in the game. So Radik A recommends, sometimes you also notice that you lose other friends when romantic relationship ends. Do you have any tips on moving forwards when this happens to you, please? Yeah. I mean, this is something I got asked about by a lawyer yesterday on Instagram, to comment on that. Quite often we lose friends during an end of a relationship. And that's difficult, because sometimes you think people are there and they're your friends and that they're never going to leave. But again, I come back to what we've talked about before in these calls, is that, some friends are there for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And you may assume that because they're in your life now, they'll be there forever. But that's not reality. I mean, if you look back now in your life and you think about all the people that you thought were your friends in that moment, you did so much with, maybe in your 20s, and you look now and say, well, how many of those people are still showing up every day, or even are you even in contact with? And that's an interesting question, isn't it? Because you'll notice that those people aren't there at the time, because it's all linked into this emotional breakup. It can be very difficult, especially if people are taking sides or making judgments on you for behaviors or things that they've been told that may not be true. I know I've got an email about that here. Some friends have decided not to stay in touch with a guy because of something that they've been told, which isn't true, but they've chosen to believe it despite that person trying to put the record straight. Now, you can't control what other people do. You can't. And you have to have faith that when one door closes, other doors will open. And I can tell you from my own personal experience that when you lose friends, sometimes it can be the best thing. Because if you're keeping connections to an ex, then sometimes that can just be like having the scab that you keep picking and it never really heals. So sometimes, even though it's hard, walking away is the best thing and starting again, because you're going to meet new people, because hopefully you're putting yourself out there in new situations. And because those people aren't around, you'll find other people to spend time with. Now, that is too much to take on in one go. Gosh, I've got to find all new people to hang around with. No, that will happen over a period of time organically. People will come forward as you start figuring out where you want to go with your life, where you want to be, what you want to do, who you want to spend more time with, what you want to spend your time doing, who you want to become. And also those opportunities that maybe you didn't even open the door to because you had a partner and you had friends and you would never have done that. Whereas now you'll have more time. So you can open the door to more friends. You can open the door to more exciting opportunities. So I would definitely recommend just keeping an open mind and not trying to hang on to the past just for the sake of it. Sometimes we lose people that we thought would always be there, and that can be painful. But actually just think of all the new people you're going to meet, okay? And sometimes we just have to grieve the end of those friendships, or just put them to a side for now, because it doesn't mean forever for sometimes. So I don't want you worrying about things. You might spend all this time worrying, oh my goodness, they don't want to be my friend, when ultimately in 6 months' time, when things have died down, or a couple of years' time and things have settled down, They might come out the woodwork again, or you might approach them and it might be great again. You can pick up. So maybe it's just a break, you know, so you don't really have to make those decisions or face anything too full on. I would more shift the energy onto you and the things you can control, which are about opening more doors and becoming more sociable and saying yes to more things. I think if we all start to say yes to more things, then no. I think things would open up a lot more opportunities. And sometimes we say no because we haven't got time, or we're working, or we've got other commitments. But actually saying, yeah, I will do that, but just let's do it in a couple of weeks. Then you have it in the diary for a couple of weeks and it happens. You're like, oh, I'm really glad I did that. I'm really glad I connected with that person. You know, I mean, I get inundated with people wanting to connect on LinkedIn or have meetings with me, like family solicitors and financial advisors and bodyguards and private detectives, you name it. And a lot of the time I say, oh, I can't, I've got too much time. But the good thing about lockdown is, like, I'm saying to my PA, look, please put it in the diary for 2 weeks or 3 weeks so that I can kind of work through all these people and it's just opening a lot of opportunities. Like, oh, sorry, someone was just calling me that. That could be a good opportunity. So those things are super important. So I really hope that you found this session really useful today. I think you've asked some amazing questions, and I really hope that my advice has been able to help you a little bit there, to get some answers for your situations. I will be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. So do please join me for DM me any questions in the meantime, or, you know, email me sarah@sarahdavidson.com if you'd like me to work with you a bit more closely. But I'm here. Please stay safe. And I hope this has really helped. And I'll see you tomorrow. Mwah. Big kisses, everyone. Lots of love. Bye.